for turning out, and welcome to Gilbert White's House and Garden. It's my duty this evening, very pleasant duty indeed, to give a few brief words of thanks and welcome. I'm standing in for our chairman, Carly Aziz, who unfortunately can't be with us this evening. He had another long-standing engagement which he couldn't manage to wriggle out of. So you get me instead. I'm Heather Lane, and I've been a trustee here since 2015. And it's my husband and I, Clive and I, are actually the people responsible for the new text, the new interpretation, was our lockdown project. So we have spent a good 18 months working on how to tell the story of Gilbert White to a new audience as well as an existing audience, and trying to bring out the essential character of the man and why he is so important. And we felt very strongly that we needed to use the entire suite of 18th century rooms in the house to do that, which is what we've done. And in a few minutes we will take you around and actually just tell you a little bit more about what we have attempted to do, and you can critique it and we will go away and rewrite it. So it's really interesting to think of Gilbert living in this house. This room was not in existence when he was here. This was added on by Thomas Bell, just over there. Essentially for his entire life. He moved here when he was 8. It belonged to his grandfather, and his grandfather bought it as a house for his grandmother to retire to, essentially. Because his grandfather was the rector locally, he knew that there wasn't going to be anywhere for them to live once he actually relinquished his position as rector. So he buys the Wakes, and Gilbert, with his parents, moves in, and very shortly after that there are a vast number of children living in a very tiny house. I think that explains why Gilbert spends so much of his life outdoors. You know, that's a sort of driver, isn't it? You would have to get out, and you would end up in this glorious scenery, landscape, absolutely wonderful space, with these extraordinary different geological strata below you, giving you wonderful different environments filled with a whole variety of species. And he gets absolutely hooked, and he observes, and I think that's the critical thing for us, making sure that people continue to observe. Because if you actually spend the time, even in your back garden, looking very closely, observing narrowly, as Gilbert did, you will, I hope, get the same sense of satisfaction of the connection with the natural world, which is something that I think, to some extent, we have lost over the 3 centuries since he wrote his wonderful actual masterpiece of a book. Really, other than that, all I have to say is that I would like to thank those people who have been involved in putting this whole new exhibition together. And first of all, our funders, the Association of Independent Museums, and BIFA, through the History Makers scheme, and the BIFA Award is part of the Landfill Communities Fund. We have had a lot of help from a lot of different people. I'd like especially to commend Kimberly James, without whom we would not have had the access to the collections and her knowledge of the life of the house, essentially, which we've been able to translate. My thanks in particular to my husband Clive, who is an extraordinarily good historian, apart from being lots of other wonderful things. And thanks to the Workhouse, who were our fit-out company, who've done a really wonderful job, I think, in building a new framework for the exhibition, and our designers as well, who worked very closely with the Workhouse to actually realise our vision of the way that this should go. This is a platform, this is just the beginning. This is phase 1 of the new interpretation. Phase 2 is to start looking at Gilbert's legacy, and that will be coming along as soon as we can find funds. So if anybody's got deep pockets, we would be delighted to talk to you. And then phase 3 is to start to really bring the garden into the house, the estate, and how we actually interpret that is going to be phase 3. So we'll be talking about that in the next year or so. With that, I think it only remains for me to say a huge thanks again. Those of you who have a glass, perhaps you would raise a glass to Gilbert, because I think without him we wouldn't be here today. So, to Gilbert. And then